What if I told you that the Bible has a hidden treasure? I bet you'll say, Thirdy, you crazy. Well, let's take a look at what this biblical historian has to say about this.
What is the oldest version of the Bible or the stories in the Bible? Is it the Dead Sea Scrolls or are there older versions?
The Dead Sea Scrolls are the oldest of the Old Testament. So when they were discovered, so they were discovered in 1946 to 1957. And at that point, during their discovery, they pushed back a lot of our previous oldest manuscripts 1,000 years, which was a big deal.
How old are they?
They're anywhere between the 3rd century BC and the 1st century BC. So it's kind of tricky because the Dead Sea Scrolls they're like a library that we refer to. So it's approximately 970 documents, but it's distributed out between 10,000 and 11,000 fragments. So there's a lot going on there, right? So, and some of these, are so fragmentary that you look at them and it's like confetti. Because they're, 3,000 years old, but not quite that. They're like 2,000 plus years old, right?
Animal skins too, right?
Yeah, well, all sorts of things. Stuff like this, it's papyri, it's animal skins, and it's a number of different languages. So the vast majority of it is in Hebrew, but there's also a lot in Aramaic and then Greek and in Nabatean. So it's like an umbrella term to just describe a whole bunch of literature. So a lot of it is biblical because it was written by this group out in the desert called the Essenes who lived at Qumran. So, but then other stuff of it is just, it's just Jewish literature of various stripes that were hidden in caves all around the Dead Sea.
So the scrolls, as it were, aren't all biblical. Some of them is just a counting of the times.
Yeah. One of the coolest ones, actually this relates because I know you're a Marco Allegro guy. The first time I was introduced to Marco Allegro was not his Sacred Mushroom and the Cross stuff, but he published a book on what's called the Copper Scroll, because part of the Dead Sea Scroll fragments is this inscribed document on copper, which is an ancient treasure map.
Can you see it? Is
Yeah.
it online?
Yeah, Jamie, pull up hey.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah. So it's in Hebrew, and it is wild. So it has these sites where it says buried treasure is found.
Whoa.
And there have been a number of guys who have tried to look for it. 65 tons of gold and 26 tons of silver.
65 tons.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. How many Cuban links can you make out of that?
You can see why someone would try to track that down.
Boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
65 tons? Man, I could sure do with that. Oh, that's equivalent to $3 trillion today. What they at though? Hey, if I want such a Christian, seems like a lucrative deal to me. But at the end of the day, as a Christian, it ain't about riches and possessions. It's about the purity of your soul and the strength of your heart, your ability to love and cater for others. It doesn't matter how rich you are if you can't give to a single soul, or you can't help anybody. Because a rich man is that with a good heart and a pure soul. And remember what Jesus said about money and wealth, that it is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into the kingdom of God. And that narrow is the gate to heaven. Don't forget that. Matthew chapter 7 verse 13 to 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Make sure you're one of those people that does find it. So the requirements to get you to heaven: eye of a needle and a narrow path. We're dealing with fine margins here, and we can't afford to lose anything. That ultimately the key to heaven is not what we bring, but what we leave behind. How much of ourselves can we leave behind in this earth, and that by the end of our time we can confidently say, I have given it my all. And that's what matters. To leave no stones unturned, to live rightfully and dutifully, not be possessed with money, riches and wealth. For all of that just slows us down and weighs us down to the place where we need to go. And that by the end of our lives, we must free ourselves from the shackles and chains that tie us down to this world. It's fascinating to see all these riches, but you have to remember what God values, and that is your heart and your soul. And that is the measure of a man. Remember, God doesn't weigh us by our height, and God doesn't measure us by the money we have in our banks. He weighs us by the goodness of our heart and the purity of our soul. I hope you like this episode of The Third Eye. This is Thirdy, helping you see life in plain sight. See you on the next one. Peace.